goes quiet. You know what I mean. When you suddenly realize there is a gap in your flow in the business. Whether this be a big business, a small business, everybody knows what this gap is. And this happens to businesses sometimes through no fault of their own. Sometimes it happens because of their own fault. But we'll look at that as we go here. But I'm just waiting to make sure LinkedIn actually connects, because this is the second time I've tried to do this live and LinkedIn has just not connected. So we'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll just kind of jump into this. But if I set the scene for you here, there are summer's a perfect example of this. And I'll give you a hypothetical that most of you will be able to relate to, because it's probably a situation you've been in or are in. It's that obvious, it's that common an issue. So you start the year full of hope, full of excitement, and somewhere between January and July, you get sucked into client work, you get sucked into projects, and before you know it, July appears before you with a gap. And you know how this works. There's the classic, customers going on holiday, customers delaying things till after the summer. All of these things are perfectly logical reasons why you have a slowdown. But is that really the reason you're in a slowdown? Or is it the fact, and you may not like this, that between January and July, you've been complacent? Now, you probably won't want to hear this. You probably would prefer me to tell you it's the economy, it's the, it's just the trend and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't like the trend, if you don't like the way it's going, it's down to you to change it. When you signed up as a business owner, when you signed up as a salesperson, whatever your role is, your job is to defy the status quo. It's not to accept the status quo, because the status quo is you will get no clients, no leads, make no impact. You will have zero. So when we get into this July period, we have to kind of go on almost a retrospective of going, where did this go wrong? Why am I now in a pinch point? And the obvious one is, I got distracted. I got distracted somewhere between January and July. I started doing the wrong things or not focusing on the right things. And so I've ended up with a pinch. Now, some of you watching me and listening to me, and apologies, I did put a wireless mic on, but the live has gone to the laptop mic. Some of you watching me will go, Dean, you're bang on the money. It's almost like you're reading my mind. I'm reading your mind because millions of people do this. Millions of people. Even I do it sometimes. I take my eye off the ball and I don't really look at what's going on and think that everything will just, maybe it's just naivety, but we think that everything will continue as is. We believe that the status quo will always sustain itself. It will just be there. And then we reach this July point and we go, oh crap, that status quo, that pipeline that always came around has gone. Now, does it mean, calamity, disaster, the end of the world? Probably not. It might feel that way. It might feel like, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do? Yeah. But if you're a salesperson, you will double down and you will go, I'll have to work harder. If you're a business owner, you will double down. You will work harder. But very often, far too often, speaking from experience here, far too often, we don't learn the lesson. We don't learn the lesson. We get busy, and I see it again. Sometimes you'll have it, you get really busy now, you'll do a lot of work, cultivating lots of stuff, like that, duck paddling really like breakneck speed under the water. Yeah, you'll do all of that stuff. Salespeople, you know what I want to talk about, follow up loads of people, do lots of activity to kind of dig yourself out of a hole. And then you'll get momentum again. So you'll get the momentum again, and then you'll let it happen again. You'll let it happen again. Because we get complacent and we get comfortable really quickly with how it's always been. And a lot of people in the summer will face this, and you have to double down. You work twice as hard to basically close the gap. But if you don't learn this lesson, you can basically end up in a cycle where every quarter it comes round, every 6 months it comes round, every year it comes round, and it's because you take your foot off the gas. And I'm not advocating you flog yourself into an early grave. Don't think that that's what I'm saying. But if we consistently did the right things every day, we would not need this massive Herculean effort every quarter, every 6 months, where it feels like do or die. And that's the reality of business. That's why salespeople are hired. That's why business owners do what they do, is because they want that predictability. But very often we're so guilty of not actually doing the work that brings that predictability. We butterfly. We run from different thing to different thing, changing things, rather than going, I've just got to crack a process. I've just got to crack a process. And I get it. Process is not sexy. Process is not the most exciting thing on earth. We'd much rather, and I know from my point of view, I would much rather, in fact, I'm internally wired to, if I want to get a message out, I would much rather go on Canva and design something and put something pretty together than outreach. And you've got that kind of avoidant behavior too, because nobody wants to close a gap. Nobody wants to realize they've got a hole in their pipeline and they need to fill it. So what do? Is we default to doing things that feel good. And then we end up in a deeper mess. And so from my point of view, why am I sharing this now? I'm sharing this now because, one, it's a timely message. The amount of people and businesses that struggle in this period between July and September is unreal. It really is unreal. And it's for all logical reasons, but customers go on holiday, customers put things off. We know that. But if you don't want this, lull, you have to build a system to compensate for the lull. Just like, our business, we closed down over Christmas. So for 2 weeks, we shut down. No client work, no nothing, 2 weeks off. It's a great break for people. And I've enjoyed having that break since I was, pretty much we've done it for as long as the business existed. That break, I have to, as a business owner, go, if I want that break, I have to not only think about how much business I need to get, I have to think about how much cash I need to collect. I have to do all of those planning pieces way before December, way before. Like September, I'm thinking about it. October, I'm really, really thinking about it. And November, I'm nervous about it if it's not coming together as I'd hoped. You have to flip the way you think about lead acquisition. You have to think about the way you think about client acquisition and work backwards to go, hang on, if I want, and I'm going to say something ridiculous now, 2026, right? 2026 sounds like a long time away. We're halfway through the year. We've got most of July left, August, September, October, November, December, right? So we've technically got about 6 months left. Well, December's a write-off, so that's gone. August and July is probably a write-off. So you've got September, October, and November. You've got 3 months left of the year. 3 really solid good months with no major disruptions in them. 3 solid good months. September, October, November. If you're sat here watching me in July 2025, right, and you're worried about August, that's one thing. You've got to go batshit. Yeah, I'm just going to say it as it is. If you're worried about the next 6 weeks, you've just got to do a lot of stuff. Now, I have a course you can buy. That's not primarily why I'm saying that right now, but I do have the 7-day client system, which is a kind of stopgap measure. So DM me if you want to know about that. But if you've got that kind of 6-week window where it's dicey, that's something you need. You need to pull a lever, or as in my old world, we used to call push the big red button. I worked for a large organization, and they were very much kind of their revenue and their marketing, the conversion was very close together. So in television, you do something and you get pretty much an instant response. So literally, if you're live on TV talking to viewers and you promote something, you get instant response. So when I was working with this TV company, they could get instant returns. And we talked about basically, we used to call it the big red button. In other words, if things were a bit slow, if things weren't converting as we thought, you would slam a proverbial big red button. And you would change up the TV schedule, you'd change up the programming, you'd change everything on a dime to basically push that red button. Now, for us, not in the TV world, where we don't get instant feedback from our prospects, and that's just the way it works, we have to think about, if we're pushing a big red button today, banging that big red button, there's a lag between us pressing it and actually getting a fix. There's a lag. And so if you're pressing that big red button today, it might be September before you actually see the benefits of it. September. Why? Because people are off, people take time. Nobody buys just because you offer it. People take time to consider, weigh things up, make decisions, all that kind of stuff. So you pressing a big red button today may mean September, which is about six or so weeks away. Now, what is that big red button? Well, there's 2 parts to that big red button. There's big red button number 1, which is basically, what can I do immediately to plug a hole? That's my 7-day client system. So you can press and slam your hand on that big red button, get started today, and you'll plug a hole. But that's only part of the story. You don't want to be pressing that big red button every month. Yeah, every business will have, I can't remember what the official stat is, but roughly it's like every business will have an existential crisis. It was something like every 7 years. But that was before AI, that was before social media. So it's probably more every 2 to 3 years now. Every business will have to go through a period of reinvention. But so you're always going to be iterating and adjusting what you're doing because the market doesn't stand still. But if you're sat here going, right, I'm going to press big red button number 1 and it'll get me out of a hole, whether you're a salesperson or a business owner, it doesn't matter. You still got to do the same amount of work to fix a gap in your pipeline, whether that's your sales pipeline or your business's pipeline. Big red button number 2, and this is where it takes guts, is you actually build something that you never have to press the button, or at least don't have to press that big red button as often. If you're having to slam that big red button, every kind of month or every 2 months, that's totally unsustainable. As a seller, as a business owner, as a marketer, you can't do that. It's madness. It's absolute madness. That's not a business. So sure, if you have to press the big red button number one is, how do I fill this hole in the short term? If that's the only button you will press today, you are going to end up where you're going to have to press that button again in a couple of months' time, and again in a couple of months' time. Instead, what you need to do is actually think about, maybe I need to press a bit better big red button, which is, I've got to sort this out once and for all. I've got to stop kind of being complacent. I've got to stop just letting the world happen, letting my the way it's always been continue. So if you're a salesperson and you're constantly having unpredictable pipeline, you've got to look at what you're doing. Are you just scraping the bottom of a funnel every time, trying to find the people who will convert there and then? Or are you building your top of funnel? When I talk to a lot of salespeople, often I find that they don't have a top of funnel at all, because they're constantly trying to get, can I get somebody to convert this month? Can I get somebody to go over the line this month? They're not thinking 3 months out, 6 months out. In fact, when I go in and talk to sales teams, one of the things I see, I look at and go, who have you connected with in the last 3 months? And I can usually count on my hand how many connections they've sent. Like less than 10. And I go, how are you building your future pipeline if you're not doing the groundwork early? Yeah, and it comes down to, they're just doing it one step in front of themselves and hoping that that will work out. And the problem with kind of LinkedIn and social media is it actually encourages you to do that. It encourages you to live very short term, because it will, I said this to a workshop the other day, I don't know whether they liked it, but I thought it was a good thing to say. I don't know whether they liked it, because I was talking about how to get clients from social media. And I said to them, well, social media in some senses is a scam. It's a scam. Think about it. You've got a multi-billion-dollar business based usually in California, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, Facebook, all of these, right? They're based in California, making billions by making us work for free. That's how they make money. They convince us that we are only one post away from everything being amazing. Just one post could make me famous. One more post could make me $1 million, right? They don't say this, but actually their ecosystem creates that belief. Come on, admit it. You've thought that. In the back of your mind, you've thought, if I just get one post that pops off, everything will be fine. So you've got $1 billion business perpetuating this dream, the social media dream, to salespeople, to marketers, to business owners, so that they create the content that occupies the user base, and then social media companies sell the attention that we're generating to other companies for money. That's how it works. That's how it works. And if you think about it, who wants to play that game? Do you really want to play that game? Now, mentally, in my head, I know I don't want to play that game. But because it plays into our brain chemistry, we actually go down the route and start playing that game. We think if we just send one post out or this out or that out, everything can change. Now, for legal reasons, of course, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, all of these platforms don't say this. But the ecosystem they creates this perception that if you could just crack the code, if you could just crack the code, it would all work. And they want you to keep trying to crack that code. Because as long as you're doing that, you're occupying the attention of other people. As long as you're trying to perform for the platform, they are making money. They are not interested, and you know this, but I'm just going to tell you home truth. They are not interested in your success. They don't give a rip about your success. They don't give a rip if you are very popular on the platform and they make a change, they shift something, pull a lever, change the algorithm, and you're invisible. They do not care. Some of the people who've been on creator programs have felt this. They felt like they were part of a community, they had access to LinkedIn people, and then they, for whatever reason, the algorithm shifted, the direction of the platform shifted, and your replies, responses, and all that kind of stuff, the community no longer exists. You're not one of their guys anymore. They've moved on. Why am I saying all of this? Because you have to start thinking about the new world of social media. And the new world of social media is not about content. It's not about content. Sure, content can be a part of it. But as evidence and history has shown, as soon as your content doesn't perform, that platform has no loyalty to you whatsoever. Or when that platform gets another better way of making money, you are superfluous. You are superfluous. And I'll give you another example of this. LinkedIn's a good example. LinkedIn, I talked about this with somebody called Mick Adam on LinkedIn, he's a good guy. Mick Adam did a post the other day, or an article the other day in his newsletter, and he was talking about impressions and how things are going, and how right now LinkedIn is prioritizing people who pay for reach. So if you want to pay for your reach on your profile, LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn is prioritizing that over organic content. In fact, what LinkedIn's currently doing, if you scroll through the feed and you look through the ads, they are saying do video and do paid partnerships. That is what LinkedIn's doing. They are trying to create a influencer ecosystem to basically get more people into the platform. So that's why your impressions are down. Just look, if you study what LinkedIn is doing, what LinkedIn is saying, what LinkedIn is sharing, you will see what they're doing. They want to build their ads business. And so if you want to use LinkedIn or any other platform to get clients consistently, you must not operate in a way where you put all of your success, you hinge everything on that platform favoring you. Just go to Instagram and talk to some of the Instagram people who've got 500,000 followers and barely can break 100 likes. Now you could say, well, maybe their followers are fake. Maybe they are. But how is it that you can have people following you, choosing to follow you, real people following you, and they don't see anything that you do? Because the platform has a better way. The platform doesn't need you anymore. Once they reach a certain point with a number of content outputs, they don't need you anymore, and they can change the game however they want. Back in 2018, 2015 even, LinkedIn needed people to post more content. LinkedIn wanted it. But now what LinkedIn's interested in is getting the big brands to pay and use influencers. So summing this up, because I talked about a lot of stuff here, if you're facing a gap, one, I can help you. Just DM me the word win, and we'll talk, and I'll show you how I can help. If you're facing that gap, I can absolutely help you. If you're up for tough love, if you're up to detox from your dopamine addiction, if you're looking for a system that doesn't require you to be living on LinkedIn and behaving like a crazy creator, I can help you. If you want to be a crazy creator, go knock yourself out. Go knock yourself out, but don't come crying to me when you're struggling and it's not working and you're trying to chase a dream that seems to always be further and further away from you. If you're struggling, you need that system. You need a repeatable process that does not rely on an algorithm. That's why you need an email list if you're a small business owner. That's why you need an outreach strategy if you're a salesperson. Not to do once a month when you're in a pinch, but something you can do day by day by day by day. So you're getting conversations every day so that you never have that pinch point. And if you build that, it doesn't become a lot of work. It becomes a lot of work when you try to do it fast and you try to do it overnight and you're trying to do a million different things. I put a video out today and shared with people about 5 different paths that you can use to get results on LinkedIn. Only one of them is content. Only one. And then in that same video, I say to people, make sure that you're coupling content with something more predictable. So look, if you're facing that summer kind of shortfall, summer challenge, there's an immediate, what do I do right now? What are you going to do to cultivate opportunity right now? And that will mean creating what I call an easy yes offer. It means adding something into your repertoire to actually get sales now and upselling people. Because if people don't know you, they don't trust you, there's no experience of you, it's hard to get people to make a decision quickly. So that's where you need an easy yes offer. And again, if you want to know about that, just DM me. If you're thinking a bit more longer term, and some of you can't think long term right now because there's so many challenges right in front of you right now that you're kind of like, I need to deal with this. But for some of you are thinking, you know, it's going to be a bit of a quiet summer, but I really want to hit the ground running in September. You should talk to me about the accelerator. I have created the first LinkedIn accelerator, not the second, not the latest version, the first one. I've actually created 4 or 5 influencers from my accelerator who've gone on to build their own versions of stuff like that. But what it teaches you is process. It teaches you to take people down a journey. It teaches you and supports you in building what you need to build to create that ecosystem that somebody could come in as a complete stranger today and they go on that journey to know, like, trust, and become a customer. It's really hard, really, really hard to do that cold. Yeah, it's really hard to do that cold. To take somebody from 0 to sold in days, it's tough. It requires really good salesmanship, salespersonship, whatever the politically correct term is. But if you don't have that, you have to use time. If you don't have the kind of salespersonship, sales skill, or you're not comfortable using that sales skill at that speed, you've got to build a system. Yeah, and sorry, for every influencer who's telling you content is the answer, yeah, they're building it and they're telling you that because they're selling to people who want to be influencers. They're not selling to people who want to build a business. They're not selling to people who have a business. They're saying, look at this opportunity. If you post content, you can make money. And all of the people who make money doing that are selling cheat sheets and all that kind of stuff, not process and systems to get results. So I'll get some heat for that statement in a minute. And some people have tagged me in posts. They might not like me anymore because I've said that, but that's how it works. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn, a lot of people on Instagram who are famous, helping people become famous. I don't want to do that. I want to help people make money. I want to help people get clients. I want to help people fill their pipeline. That's not as sexy as you can go viral. But many of you will have been posting regularly for a long time and you're still here. You're still not much further on than you were. So if content is the answer, you've posted enough, you've done it all, you've tried every tactic, you're still here, wherever you are right now, you're still in the same place. Despite the courses, the trial and error, the hours creating, you are still in the same place. So something has to change. Not a popular message, but it's the truth. It's the truth. So look, if you're in that hole, message me and I'll send you my 7-day client system. If you're wanting to build something longer term, then we need to have a conversation. And we need to look at what will actually work for you, not just transpose some template system on you and hope it works. You need to know what will work for you, what will work for your target audience, what will work for your business. Because as much as I would love to be able to give you a template process that would just drop in and it would be seamless and easy and everything, and it's easy to post that, by the way, it's got to be adapted to what you sell. It's got to be adapted to the problems you solve. It's got to be adapted to the way your business works. So there is no template process, but you either start solving the problem. If you're in a hole right now, the pipeline's looking light, you dig yourself out. Yeah, you have to dig yourself out. If you're a salesperson, you have to dig yourself out. That means tomorrow you have to prioritize the things that will get you out of that hole. If you're a business owner, you have to do the same thing. But both of you have to consider, quite simply, how do I not end up here again? And that's about planning. That's about building a process. That's about being real about how long it takes people to get to that know, like, trust and a position to buy. And building a system that actually works for that, rather than what can I scrape out the bottom of the barrel just to hit the line. You can do that once or twice, and sometimes you have to. Tough spots happen. I had a customer go bust on me, and they owed £20,000 at the time, and I was a small business. That was more than my payroll, and I had to dig myself out of that hole. But I vowed, I learned lessons. Don't have one customer that can take you down like that. And also always have a flow of leads and clients, so that if one does let you down, one does go bust, you've got something else going on. But you've got to build those systems. And unfortunately, when things are going good, you don't think that way. You think there'll always be time, there'll always be another way. But when you get to that pinch point, suddenly you realize all the stuff you should have been doing. And my warning as we wrap up this is, yes, you 100% you can fix this. Just focus tomorrow on what will fill that black hole, what will fill it, and go and do that. And again, you can grab my help, message me if you want it. But don't get here again. Don't get here again. Build a system and a process that goes, actually, I'm going to plan that it's going to take me, I'm going to plan that I'm going to have enough leads in my ecosystem that if I did nothing else for 3 months, I would have enough leads. Think about that and go 3 months worth of leads. If I started now, how do I cultivate enough opportunity, nurture it, so that in 3 months' time, I could probably stop, but you won't. You don't. You just keep going, doing the same thing, because that's how the payoff comes. Anyway, I've shared enough now. I've been on for half an hour. I can't see the comments, so apologies if you have commented here. I can't see them because of the way I'm set up on a single screen, but I appreciate you all spending time with me today. Hopefully this has been helpful, and see you all soon.